approximately 1 hour. Firstly, we will start to define what is Softproof, because in the industry since some years, I would say 10-15 years, Softproof is around, a lot of people talking about, and there are different definitions what really is understood behind the phrase Softproof. Then we talk about the basics of color evaluation. So what's important if you want to trust your monitor about the colors the monitor shows you. Then we switch over to EIZO, and Christian Oleg will tell you a bit about the monitors and how to set up the right environment for your monitor, all the topics, until we go further to talk about different programs like Photoshop or Acrobat, which settings are the right one, which are important, where do you have to look, and then to see also in which GMG solutions you can use Softproof functions, and where you find also GMG's color management technology regarding evaluation of colors on your monitor. I guess most of you already are familiar with GMG, but if not, there are some important facts. Of course, we are at home and proofing and color management solutions. Proofing mainly, of course, hard proofing, but also some soft proofing solutions are there now. Also, our color management solutions like Color Server, CoZone, or the Color plugin are also support other solutions to show colors on your monitor. We do color management for more than 30 years right now, have 130 employees worldwide, and of course our academy training centers. So very quick overview for you, what is GMG? EIZO will present them later, and that you know who is talking at the moment with you. My name is Johannes Betz. I'm responsible here for the GMG Academy, so for all our training activities, and of course also for our free webinars we give you valued information about color management and all topics around. As you see, I'm been previously since 2006. I come from the printer side, so I'm always a bit critical regarding softproofing. But you will see there are really some good inventions in the last years, and may it make sense for you to think about softproofing. So start with the definition of softproof. What do we understand when we talk about softproofing? Firstly, all the color management experts, I would say, like we also, think about replacement of an hard copy proof. But that's not the only case. A softproof in first is a color correct image on the monitor. So color correct images on your monitor, so where you can trust on the colors and where you can reproduce or reproduction of a reference. So the reference could be, of course, a print sample or an hard copy proof. So you want to display the same colors as on your print sample or hard copy proof on your monitor. But maybe also in an RGB workflow where you not have CMYK files yet, you want to show the correct RGB values, what is in your image from the camera originally. So you want to reproduce colors on your monitor regarding a specific reference. Depending on which case of softproofing you have different quality levels needed. So we divide into 3 situations of softproofing. The first one is evaluation during image processing. So when you make also your artworks and I would say artworks and your different adjustments like text corrections, etc., you also evaluate and adjust your colors. Therefore, of course, a good graphical monitor is important, a good setup, but maybe it's not the highest level of softproofing. Therefore, some repair houses, they have a screen and a light box, a light viewing booth, where you can compare directly then your hard copy proof or your print sample to your monitor. That's also a case where then the quality level or the quality need is very high. You find that mostly in repair houses. Against the left side, could be also in repair houses or in agencies. And of course, who is missing? The printer. Yeah, also on the print press, in some cases already Softproof is in use those days. For example, here in magazine printing, where maybe the colors not are on the highest critical level, because in those cases still hard copy proof has a big plus. But yeah, may you find the softproofing monitors here for the printer as his reference. So on the validation here in the repro and the printer, it's a very high quality level needed. And yeah, when you do it during your processing of the images, maybe you want to just have a correct displaying of your colors, but not that really identical color appearance like in the other two cases. So what is normally the typical color approval workflow in the pre-press section, or I would say in the printing industry? Of course, you have an agency firstly, which should make some creative stuff from the brand owner. He says, okay, I want to have some creative packaging or magazine. And the agency sends the file as PDF, for example, in CMYK or RGB to the pre-press department. The pre-press department, of course, they have some reference or target from the customer, or the customer give notifications in a hard copy proof or in a soft copy proof, which changes should be made. And you make changes in, for example, Photoshop for your images. Maybe you use also a plugin from GMG if you want to have really high quality color management, or especially when you need with spot colors, then the GMG technology is very good here. And you have a separation profile, maybe a standard profile like PSO uncoated. This is for free on the EIZO homepage to download and to use. So an industry standard. So convert, for example, from RGB to your industry standard PSO uncoated, or you have to convert from ZMYK to your spot colored image. What is possible with the color plugin, for example. So you make your conversions, but then you want to evaluate it. And therefore, you need either a softproof or hard proofing system. And of course, softproof in this case is topic today. So you want to have a really reliable monitor and a reliable result on your monitor. After when you're finished with your adjustments, then you have your print data and maybe your hard copy proof to send further to the printer. So as you saw, there are different use cases for softproofing and typical workflow. And before we go deeper into the topic, I want to ask in the audience right now, how you do your color corrections or your color adjustments in your daily business. So therefore, I made a small survey I will launch right now. One moment. So now you should see a question. And I ask just, how do you make your color adjustments in your daily business with your suppliers or your customers? Do you have you make the corrections directly on the monitor? So your operator have a calibrated monitor, or do you normally have not calibrated monitors, so make the adjustments with hard proofs, so in between proofing in the adjustment process? Or do you have already a soft proof station with a box and a norm light? So yeah, really controlled conditions. So we divide here in three different, I would say, three different aspects or situations. So the first one is on a normal operator monitor, which is calibrated. Second one is not calibrated and you use hard proofs. And the third one is then the soft proof station. All right, 70% have voted right now. Maybe we can get some more, 71. Okay, let's wait maybe some seconds. And then I will show you the results before we go ahead. All right. Okay, I will close the question. We have 76% voted. And of course, I will share with you the result. So 47% do the adjustments directly on the operator monitor, which is a graphical monitor and calibrated. 35 do it over hard proofing, and 32 with a really soft proof station. So I would say, yeah, very, very equal relations here between different situations. We have today in the audience with right now 75 attendees in the webinar room. All right, thank you for participating here in that small survey. I should hide now. That should be close. Moment, there is so again, yeah, now we again on air. Sorry for that, and go further. So let's talk about the basics and how to set up your monitor, or what is important if you want to do color matching on your monitor. Firstly, you should ask yourself for which situation you want to set up your soft-proofing system or your stations. So is it more with in your repro level where you want to compare proof and monitor, or is it on the operator screen, or is it really on the press? Therefore, you have different quality levels, and you have to think about the implementation. So do you want to also give your customers and suppliers soft proof stations or graphical monitors, so you can send files directly for the evaluation and maybe approval process to your customers and suppliers? Also the environment, in which rooms and what around, we will hear about this more later. Also the verification. Maybe for you interesting, you can also certificate your soft-proof system together with the FOCRA. There is also ISO norm 12646 in the actual version 2015. So that's considerations when you firstly think about soft-proofing, and when you say, okay, yes, I want to have a good monitor, and I want to maybe make that in between adjustments, not with hard copy proof anymore, then firstly you have to think about characteristics and settings of the monitor. So there are different monitors on the market. We will see today those from EIZO, which characteristics they have and which advantages, of course, and then of course the settings are important. Also the norm light where you evaluate your print sample is important, and the environment of your monitor. So do you have norm light like in repro houses often around in the operator side, or in agencies normally you not have norm light in the room. You have also daylight. There are a lot of things to consider. Then of course in the applications you have to know which settings and to choose knowledge about soft proof settings in your different applications like Photoshop, for example, or if you use GMG CoZone, you have to know, okay, they have to click there, then I get my color trustful image. So from a technical point of view, you have three main components. It's always the monitor, what's important, and it's your hardware in your computer, so the display card, how good this works, and the profile, the color profile. So a bit more about the features of the monitor, what's important, but I won't say too much here because also Mr. Oleg from EIZO will tell you more about that topic, so go quickly through it. Of course, it has to be a graphical monitor, not just a business monitor. Why? Because of the stability over some time, not to change its color. The homogeneity, how homogeneous the image will be displayed. You see it very badly here in that image, so there are differences in the lightness, and here it's very homogeneous. Then the color range, so which color space, which gamut the monitor is able to display. And the resolution of your monitor and your hardware in your computer. So how much grayscales, how fine they could be reproduced. That's all important topics. Also then, of course, other topics like the viewing angle. You're looking at the monitor, that's maybe not so easy to control. Also reflection surface. Also we'll hear there from EIZO something more later. That's different aspects. For example, just what may influence also your result when you comparing colors on your monitor. You have to think about calibration targets like the color temperature of your monitor. For example, for the printing industry, it's mostly D50, so 5000 Kelvin, and a gamma characteristics. Yeah, and then if your monitor is set, you can characterize it, make a profile, so you have a monitor profile, and so there your monitor is nearly set. So here you can see just the comparison now when you have different monitor gamuts or color range. So on the right hand side, first you see the original. That's a very colorful image, saturated, and a monitor with a small gamut will show you more result like this. On the left hand side here you see now different gamuts. The web outside is Adobe RGB, nearly the biggest gamut here, RGB gamut. Then the blue shape here is sRGB, and the red one is ISO coded. So there you can see, okay, Adobe RGB can completely reproduce ISO coded, our print standard here. And sRGB is too small. Therefore, there are some areas which could be not reproduced on your monitor from your later print result. But also here later more from ISO. So as said, calibration is important. Of course, which color do you have, brightness, gamma value, and a white point. But I will go here quick over this through. And of course, when you characterize your monitor, then a test chart will be displayed, but also we will see that from ISO in some minutes. Environment norm lights, yeah, of course, important is when you set up your whole system with the monitor and your light booth and whatever, you should make or ensure that there is no changing of your light source. May also best neutral surrounding is important, and also how you watch or how you evaluate your print sample, as already said. It's also good to measure your environmental light in your room, and you can also set up your monitor regarding the light you're watching the print sample. All right, but now enough from my time. I want to hand over to Christian Ohlig. He will introduce himself. So quickly, I will make you the presenter. Mr. Ohlig, one moment. So should be right now done. Takes some seconds, and then we should see your screen. All right, now we see your screen. Yeah, welcome.
And do you hear my voice too?
And we hear your voice. Perfect.
Great. So, yeah, a warm welcome from my side too. I'm Christian Ohlig. I'm working as a product marketing manager in the European headquarters of EIZO Europe. We are situated here in Mönchengladbach in the west of Germany. And I would like to introduce myself a little bit more too. I'm working at EIZO since 2015. In my life before EIZO, I've been working as a journalist and photographer for nearly 20 years. After that, I studied online editor and have been a lecturer for photography and picture editing at the University of Applied Sciences in Cologne for some years too. And now since 2015, I am working here at EIZO. Let's have a look on the agenda of my part at first. We have a short look on the calibration related topics. After that, we take a short look onto the editing conditions, of course not in the printing factory, because there you always have ideal and norm light conditions, but in the step before going to the printing area. Then we together take a look on the features with which make the difference between a good office or a good business monitor and a graphics monitor, a monitor which is suitable for color management. And in the end, we take a short look onto the complete color edge lineup in EIZO's graphics monitor segment. So let's start with the topic calibration. I guess everybody who gets in contact with digital files at first, especially if it's visual context or content, expects this here. You have a digital file, you edit it on your computer, you print it, and then you have the perfect print in your hand. Of course, we all know the reality is usually different. We don't see these differences here if we just print Office files like Word documents or Excel sheets. But if we are printing visual context, those small differences between the things that we see on the monitor and the things that come out of our printer are big enough that we think these pictures are not suitable. And now usually we don't know where the reason lies. Is it is it the problem of the printer, the monitor, the OS, the software we are using, or whatever? And then you try to modify your visual on the monitor and reprint it, and this isn't what we want. We expect a soft proof, which means first we want to see exactly what is in the file, and on the other hand we want to see exactly what happens to our file if we print it. And there are some steps we have to go to ensure that this is possible. Well, the first problem is that our computer commands color values to the monitor, and we think or we expect that the monitor is showing exactly the values that have been commanded to it. But there is we can't be sure. And to be sure, we have to find a back channel. This back channel is what you know as a calibration sensor. This enables our computer, in addition to calibration software, to measure the given values and compare it to the actual values. And then we have here this back channel, and we are able to look if there are deviations and correct them in the next step. This is the first extremely important thing, and without this step, to ensure that the file is precisely presented on the screen, we don't have any chance that the print or the hard copy or whatever is our final product looks like the Softproof profile, the ICC profile has simulated it, because there is this difference between the file on the computer and what we see on the monitor. In the next step, we have another problem. Now we are sure that the appearance of the file on the monitor is precise, but here are other influence factors which come together to the file. The file is added to a printing machine, in this case an inkjet printer, which is using a special kind of ink as the second component, and as the third component is printing on a special paper. And as you all know, the material what we are about to print has a huge influence of the appearance of the print. Of course, if you print on a matte paper, you can't expect the dark tones to be extremely dark, especially, for instance, if you print on the canvas material, and the colors are not so bright as, for instance, if you print on aluminum material or things like that. So now that we have a precise monitor, we need something which enables our workstation to simulate the influence that the following components have on our picture. And for this use case, we have this ICC profile, and which enables the monitor to show the influence of the upcoming workflow. Now, in this step, we can optimize our file, for instance, correcting the colors, that all our colors that or our tones that are in our picture are lying in the printable gamut. And when we are ready and the picture is optimized, we have a good impression what is possible in this workflow. We have an optimized file, and then we can send it to our printing machine and can be rather sure that what we saw on the monitor is nearly the same what we can keep in our hands afterwards. So I think everybody who didn't calibrate something first time expects that the calibration is an on-off process. And if you try it the first time, you might be rather astonished that the calibration sense software expects some information from you. Because it's not an on and off process. You always have to calibrate on special values. Usually you have to choose between 4 values, and 2 values are rather easy. The black level usually is to the minimum of the monitor, and the gamma value is usually 2.2. If you have to use different gamma settings, you of course know it from your workflow, but these 2 settings are usually really easy. And if you are working in a controlled environment, like in your print shop, where you have a standard light with D50, which means 5000 Kelvin, and the constant brightness of your lighting, it's rather easy. You choose your white point to D50, and the brightness that you have in your print studio. But in other conditions, for instance, as the mentioned conditions in an agency or in the creative department where the content is created, of course, they don't sit in this controlled environment, and even they should have a calibrated system, and they should have a perfect calibration target which matches for their circumstances. Well, what are their circumstances? In those cases where you are not in a controlled printing environment, the circumstances differ through the day potentially, depending on if there is a window and the light which comes from the outside changes over the day. Which brightness should they choose? The limiting factor is the maximum brightness, I would say, because if you choose a brightness which is highly above 120 or 160 nits, the precision of the monitor decreases, and this is what we don't want. On the other hand, the monitor mustn't be too bright, because in this case you would edit your files to dark, and it mustn't be too dark, because in this case you would edit your files to bright, which you both don't want. But I think most of you know which brightness is suitable for them. The next thing is the white point. Of course, if you have a standard lighting at your working space with D50 or perhaps D65, you of course just choose this white point. But if you have a changing environment, I wouldn't recommend just to say, okay, we are working for printing, then we should choose D50 as the white point. I always would recommend that you choose the same white point that your surrounding ambient light has. Why would I recommend this? First of all, if you really have a neutral daylight, many of you might perceive the D50 white point as a little bit too yellowish and might prefer 6000 or 6500 Kelvin. On the other hand, if you have a artificial lighting environment and have a different white point at your monitor, your brain, which perhaps you know, always is making an automatic white balance as the most digital cameras do it, now has to choose which white point it adapts. There are then 2 chances. Whether to adapt the white point of the monitor. In this case, if you, of course, for instance, have this tungsten ambient light here, the peripheral viewing area will be too yellowish, what is not a big problem, but you are able to see the file right. If there is a neutral picture, it will appear to you neutral. This is the case that is not a big problem for precise editing, but the other case is that your brain will make an automatic white balance on the surrounding light temperature, and then in this case even a neutral file will appear, for instance in this example, a little bit too blue, and then you will correct a mistake which isn't in the file and which only is seen by your brain, and so your picture will be too yellow after editing, although it was perfect. And so this is the reason why I say, please, if you are not working in a controlled environment, watch out with which color temperature you have and which brightness. And if you have different conditions during the day, just use different targets. Of course not if you're surfing in the internet or just writing some texts, but if you want to make a precise color correction, you should go this way. But I assume the most of the attendees here today work in a controlled environment like here, where you have always this 5000 candela lights, and you know the brightness, and there are no windows, and the conditions don't change during the day, and then the choice of the target is rather easy. The next thing I want to stress is the adjustment of a calibration target. Usually you don't use different targets, you just take the standard values. If you say, okay, our bulbs or our lighting here is at D50, we choose 5000 nits, and this is it. But the problem is the human perception, of course, isn't standardized. We can't be calibrated. We can't calibrate ourselves, and the expectations and the impressions, especially of every human, is slightly different. Additionally, the appearance of different monitor types and different, for instance, backlight techniques or backlight. If you, for instance, if you have an LCD panel with a LED backlight, or with the older models with the CCFL backlight, the appearance of the picture is different. Although if you take a measurement device, it's perfectly the same if you measure it, but the human perception is different. We call this metamerism, and this metamerism is the reason why you should think about adjusting your calibration target if you see that there is a slight difference between your hard copy proof, and your soft proof view. So how does this adjustment work? Well, you just open your file, which you just have printed. Of course, you need the same lighting conditions if you compare it. And then, as you can see here at the scroll bar, here are a lot of values that you can change, but mostly it's enough just to adjust the brightness and the white point. And after that, and always while comparing the hard copy proof with the soft proof view. After this, when you say, okay, now it's matching perfectly for me, the color navigator, our calibration software, will do another calibration, and then you get the result. Okay, for your perception, you need 5250 Kelvin white point and 105 candela per square meter as brightness. So now, as we have talked a little bit about the topic calibration, let's have a look on all the effort we put into these fabulous graphics machines, so that we can ensure that they are really suitable for graphic files, and that we can make sure that you see exactly what's in the file. First of all, as Mr. Betts already mentioned, you only have the chance to see the right Softproof if your monitor is able to display the gamut that you are about to use. For instance, here, this is a two-dimensional view of the same thing Mr. Bates already showed us, and we already have seen that, for instance, the ISO-coded profile is completely here, rather hard to see, in the red triangle, which is the Adobe RGB monitor, and only an Adobe RGB monitor is able to simulate this printing process, because only those monitors, we call it white gamut monitors or graphics monitors, are able to simulate this. All our monitors, with one exception, the CS230, which is only able to display the sRGB gamut, are able to display, in fact, the whole Adobe RGB gamut with 99 point whatever %. So the next thing is that hardware, graphics monitors, color management monitors should always be hardware calibrated. And there is many, even professional users don't know the difference between hardware and software calibration. And if they don't know the difference, they try to explain it to themselves and assume, okay, for one thing, you need a hardware, for instance, this calibration sensor, and for the software calibrations, you don't need this. Unfortunately, this is completely wrong. For both methods, for hardware and software calibration, you always need a hardware in form of this calibration sensor, and you always need a software in form of a calibration software. But where's the difference now? Well, the difference is that the hardware calibration calibrates or corrects the monitor itself. The software calibration just changes the graphics card's signal with a correction profile. And we say, please use only hardware calibratable monitors, because the hardware calibration is lossless. And if you make a software calibration, depending on the value of correction, you always have a lower quality than you would have without the calibration. This is the reason why every color edge monitor is hardware calibratable. The next thing is that no panel is homogeneous from the beginning. Every panel has areas where the brightness isn't so high, where there is a special color tone. It's not so neutral as we all expect it to be. This is unfortunately, every monitor is this way, and more unfortunately, this difference and this inhomogeneity is different at every panel. So what can we do to make sure that we always have a homogeneous monitor? Because the photographers beneath you will know that you can spend much money on your lenses. All lenses have this vignetting if you use it with a completely open. And it's not a big deal. You can remove it during the raw processing or in the post-production easily. But what if the monitor has this vignetting too? You never can be sure if the vignetting is in the file and you are removing something what is really there, or if you not remove something, if you are removing something what isn't there, and which really means you are not removing dark edges, you are adding bright edges, and this is what you don't want. So in this reason why we correct every single monitor, and we measure every single monitor in multiple sections and in many colors, so that we can make sure that every color edge monitor is absolutely homogeneous over the full space of the panel. The next thing, our 3-digit CG monitors have a 3D LUT. This is the lookup table where the mixture of the colors with the red, green, and blue subpixels are written in. And just to know that the 3D LUT is more precise than a 2D LUT can be, and so our best monitors have a 3D LUT. The next thing is the pixel, the color rate that we use. Usual monitors just have an input rate of 8-bit and an output rate of 8-bit. And of course, there is no room for corrections. There is no room for changing anything with the homogeneity or anything like this. This is the reason why our graphics monitors have a much more powerful internal processing with a 16-bit LUT. Of course, most of you know 16-bit is not double 8-bit, it's much more, because double of 8-bit is 9-bit and 10-bit is double of 9-bit, and so we don't internally we can calculate with billions of colors and not just with millions like it would be in the 8-bit mode. The perfect result you get if you get an output mode of 10-bit. Our monitor support 10-bit output. Of course, your software and your graphics card have to support it. So until 1 year ago, Apple didn't support 10-bit output, even if your hardware would have been able to do it in the Windows world. But unfortunately, since 1 year, you can get 10-bit output in the Apple workflow too. One last important feature, white is very easy with an LCD monitor. You just show the 3 subpixel in every subpixel with 100% brightness, and then you have a white. What is really difficult is black, because you have to cover the backlight in this pixel completely, and this is really difficult for a monitor. Because of this, our CG monitors have an additional filter layer, a retardation film, which enables them to have extremely dark black tones, and this is very important if you want to have a precise impression of your soft-proof view. So all of this and many more features, which I don't have the time to talk about now, are included if you get something which is called a graphics monitor, especially if you get something which is from EIZO and called ColorEdge. So let's just have a quick look into our lineup. Actually, we do have 2 product lines, the CS and the CG line. The CS line is the entry-level line. It's our basic line. As I already mentioned, the 23-inch monitor, the CS230, is a little bit out of range. It's just an sRGB monitor. We really start with the wide gamut monitors at the CS2420, and its bigger brother in 27-inch, the CS2730. All of these monitors are wide gamut, have a 16-bit LUT, are completely homogeneous. What is not included in this package is the shading hood. You can get it as a spare part, and a calibration sensor. You can get from one from EIZO, or you can use those from third-party manufacturers like X-Rite or Datacolor or different others. Now, when we look at the CG lineup, it's our high-end product, and here we have 2 different models in 24 and 27-inch. The 4-digit CG monitors are a little bit newer, with a little bit more modern cabinet, and the 3-digit units are a little bit older, but they have a little bit better calibration sensor. All the CG models have a built-in calibration sensor, which is really a great thing. First of all these built-in sensors all get calibrated with the individual panel which they are mounted on. The precision is really high, and it's really convenient that you don't do the calibration manually. You just can program it and say, okay, please calibrate this monitor every first Sunday in the month at night 2 a.m. when I'm sleeping, and then the monitor calibrates itself. And if you're working in a big company with many calibration monitors, you can even do this remote from the administrator's desk, and you don't have to run through the departments with a calibration sensor. This is very convenient. This built-in sensor is a feature of all CG models. The volume models are the 4-digit models. They have a little bit weaker sensor, which doesn't enable them to validate. The 3-digit models have a little bit more precise sensor, and so these are the models which are perfectly for the pre-press industry. And especially for the video industry too. So the 4-digit models are especially very well bought in the photography context, and the 3-digit models are the special models for pre-press and video editing. Talking about video editing, we have 2 4K models, and of course most of you know 4K from the video context, but 4K monitors are of course not only for 4K videos. The value for every other solution is that they have an extremely high resolution. What means 4K? 4K means it's a 4 times the full HD resolution. We have here 2 different 4K types. The most common type is the UHD 4K with 3840 pixels, and the most professional type usually used for high-end films or cinema applications, it's a little bit wider with 4096 pixels. But what means 4K, especially in the printing context? Well, it means the appearance of the picture is extremely close to the print, because here we have an extremely high resolution. At the CG 318, which is our top model in the complete range, we have a high resolution of 149 pixels per inch, and at the 24-inch model we have an even higher resolution of 185 pixels per inch. And so the appearance of the Softproof on these kinds of monitors is really comparable to print, as we have an extreme high resolution. So just some more words on the conditions that you should have at your working space when you want to edit photos. As we already mentioned, the lighting conditions outside your window are rather inhomogeneous too, and if you want to have constant conditions, the easiest way is to keep the daylight out. So if you want to high-end and extreme precision picture editing, just close your curtains or whatever you have. Of course, the best is that you have a standard norm light with D50 or D65, that enables you to compare your hard copy with your Softproof on the one hand, and on the other hand, you don't have the danger of a difference between the white point of your ambient light and the white point of your monitor. Of course, depending on the angle of your light which could shine on your monitor, we recommend using this shading hood. And of course, our monitors have really good anti-glare surface, so that the mirror, you don't see yourself, for instance, if you're sitting in front of the computer, like it is if you use a glossy display, or especially a glossy display with a glass mounted in front, like it's in many all-in-one solutions. And of course, you shouldn't wear colorful clothes or sit in front or behind colorful walls, but I think this is self-explaining. Yeah, this is what the conditions should be, and that was my agenda. I finished I'm finished, and if there are any questions left, don't hesitate to ask in the comments, and we will try to do our best to answer them, perhaps after the seminar via mail or whatever Mr. Betts thinks is the most suitable way. So thank you very much for your attention, and Mr. Betts, it's your turn again.
Yeah, thank you very much, so Oleg, thank you for your introductions. There have been a lot of questions right now in the chat window, but I collected them because you're already late again, so I could not ask all of them, but I only want to pick up one because maybe that is interesting for all of the attendees here. And there is one question regarding a best practice or introduction or how to regarding the calibration of your monitors. Do you know, are there some info materials where the customers of EIZO can get a quick how to calibrate or some insights there?
Yes, we have a brochure which is a step-by-step instruction for a calibrated workflow. I will forward you the link, and then you can send it to the attendees, and then they can have a look at this. And I think this is a rather good introduction into this topic.
Perfect. So I will distribute it, and I see in the chat everybody thanks about. Yeah, thank you very much again. So I will take back the screen. So yeah, that was now a lot regarding the monitors. You see what is possible and what's important when you think about the monitor. What's now left for the last, I would say, 10 or 15 minutes is now about regarding the programs, the applications, so which settings you have to use. I see in the chat there are a lot of more questions. I have to let them beside right now. As said, we will follow up after then the session, or at the end I will review it quickly. All right, so first thing in case of color management important is to divide between conversion and your soft proofing section. So sometimes there is confusion. What's my conversion profile? What's my soft proof or my proofing profile? You will see it later. That's easy to declare what's the difference. Then other different or important words are the rendering intent. So how to display and how to simulate your conversion profile on your soft proof condition. Also then your profile itself, so the conversion profile itself, and of course then the correct displaying with your monitor profile. So I show you here three cases. The first case, you have a PDF as with RGB content, and you just want to show with the monitor profile what's in that PDF and what's in that RGB files. Then of course normally you choose here as example in Photoshop, but in the other applications it's quite similar, the RGB profile of your monitor. In that case here, it's just from my laptop, so it's not really a color graphical monitor. But here you choose your monitor profile and display it absolute colorimetric on your screen. If you want to simulate with your RGB data files how a separation will be, so for example from RGB to PSO uncoated volume 3, then you choose rendering intent relative colorimetric. You choose the black point compensation because of you have different kinds of how blacks are displayed in a case of monitor and a case of printing, and you want to simulate also the paper color. The next case will be you have already CMYK files, so images already converted into CMYK, and you separate it now in another CMYK, or you want to show how it is in that particular CMYK, so it's already converted into ISO coded, for example. Then just choose ISO coded, preserve CMYK numbers. That means there is no conversion done, so it's directly stayed on that profile you choose here, and you can soft proof then your CMYK file on your monitor. We will have a quick view in Photoshop some minutes later. But let's see how GMG is in there. And within the questions in the chat, I saw a lot of you interested how to use GMG profiles in soft proofing. So especially, I guess, when you make your also your own profiles, so custom profiles. If you're not used standard profiles, there are some ways how to use GMG as softproof. Also, other profiles can be used when you have some tools of us. And the main two tools I will discuss or show you today is the GMG Color plugin. It's connected with GMG Open Color. I guess some of you are already familiar with that. So you can use also or make conversions into special printing use cases. Like in this case, it was a CMYK orange, green, and violet process, and you can also display it in Photoshop. But this is already a bit tricky because with the normal Photoshop settings, spot colors are not shown color correctly. So it's not, softproof is not possible with the built-in Photoshop functions. So we build in our GMG color plugin, Open Color Preview, where a new image is generated in the LAB mode, where you can just judge then the color and evaluate it. But for the plugin, there are a lot of other tutorials on YouTube and also on our website where you can watch. We just want to quickly go through it. Also, I want to show you our collaboration tool. So it's to handle files between customers, suppliers, and pre-press departments, and you can make annotations, and therefore we check now if the monitor is calibrated. So switch over here in GMG Cosin, you see it here on the right hand side top. You can make annotations, and you see that yellow and green bubble here. So the first annotation is not made with a calibrated monitor, and the green one, the monitor was calibrated. So you can check during the collaboration phase into your print process if the monitor has a validate profile from the last calibration. And as said, color plugin, then correct display of spot colors. Our technology is also in Adobe Acrobat and also in hybrid packs, what is in PDF editor. So Acrobat, if you do color server conversions, for example, in the background also an ICC profile of that conversion to the target will be made on your system, and you can display it also in Acrobat, your new output condition, if you have custom profiles. For packs, then of course this is directly using Open Color in the background, and you can also soft proof it when you've done the conversion then. We could not look on all tools today. It would be too much time. So much time is not left. So quickly maybe the Open Color case. So this is our profiling solution where you can make your own separation profiles and your own proof profiles. If not the standard cases not are enough for you, then one case will be over the plugin we already discussed, and one case will be over color server, and then in the background you have the ICC profile, and that will be displayed then with your file in Acrobat for accurate preview. And also packs as said. But now let's look into the applications, not take too much time here into the presentation. And firstly we'll start with Cosin here. So moment, I have to switch it into your screen. So as said, you can do collaborations here. So I have an example with an elephant here, the colorful elephant. You can do approvals and so on. Sharing platform for your customers. And today I just want to focus on the softproof part of it. So as maybe seen before in the presentation, on the right hand side you see there are 3 annotations. Number 1 was made. Okay, this is just an example, but you see there is no information about the monitor which that adjustments or judge was made. The second dot here, they say, okay, cyan minus 10%, this monitor has been calibrated. So because the number is green. If the number is orange, then you know it is an outdated profile there, so a new calibration is necessary. So you can check if the I would say the changements are up to date, and maybe that's a good function here. All right, I'm working now on my laptop, so it's not not to use here, but if you work on a graphic monitor which correct profile, then you can judge your colors here also directly in CoZone. Another opportunity, of course, as said, is then in Photoshop. Let me switch to Photoshop. Also, I have the elephant here. Let's start firstly with that file. So you have an ISO coded file, and of course, I guess most of you, all of you know it. You can choose here then under View and Proof Setup the condition you want to have. So when you want to check it correctly, go on Custom, and okay, now we want to firstly see how it looks printed in ISO coded. So in that condition directly, then normally you go on absolute and you say, on preserve CMYK numbers, because you not want to have any further conversion done directly for ISO coded here. Okay, you can say paper on or off, and you will see the difference. But you also can say, okay, I want to know how this will be printed in an uncoded process. So here, firstly, you simulate, so to say, the conversion. So let's go here on uncoded Fogra 29. So it's the older version, and not preserved, because now we want to handle that file as it will be converted from ISO coded to uncoded Fogra 29. Relative color metric with a black point compensation, and also be similar to paper color. So this will just simulate it, but it will not change the file. When you say cancel or okay, of course it's just a proofing, but when I say proof off, then again it will display the ISO coded value. So with a coded substrate, and this is again proof mode, so uncoded. And here on the left side, that file is already converted, and it is already shown with the right profile. So that is the settings very quickly shown in Photoshop for those of you who are not so familiar yet, but I guess most of you know it. I quickly want to show you what's then possible in the plugin. So that's an extension for Photoshop from GMG, where you can use GMG's technology then directly in Photoshop. As said, there are sessions especially about our tool here. Mainly this is open color preview. You can also preview spot color images. So I have quickly here another example for you. So some of you already know that file, that cupcake file. And let's see on the channels, we have CMY no K. So this is no K in it. There is only a Pantone 469, 301, and 248. So especially for the packaging guys here, you have that possibility to use spot colors directly into images. And then with the open color preview, okay, now my open color is down, you can preview your colors directly in Photoshop. So a LAB image will be reproduced, and you can compare it to your ISO coded CMYK reference from the customer, for example. So that's how, Softproof is mentioned now very quickly in Photoshop, in CoZone, also in Acrobat, of course, but we're already over time, so I will skip back now, and I see there are some questions regarding open color in the plugin. I will come back regarding that questions, no problem here. Go back to the to the presentation. I will give you some information here. Also, if you want to know more details about softproofing, how to set up your monitor for correct colors, I can just advise you also the Fogra handbook here under that link. Or if you just go on Google and search Fogra softproofing, then you will find that handbook very quickly. Also, if you want to know more about the plugin and CoZone, you can go on YouTube or on our website. And now from my side, only 2 or 3 things are left. So thank you very much for participate. I want to tell you also something about our courses here. So I hope you enjoyed what we did today and did also over our last sessions. We have our new scheduled for 2018 outside. So in March, we have here at our GMG Academy in Tübingen some trainings regarding color management in general, or if you want to do something for your own profiles, create your own test prints, or work better with GMG Open Color. Also, you can review all dates on our website. There is also our training calendar and our our brochure for 2018. Also in the Go to Training window on the right hand side, you should find here materials I just copied from my window. You'll find that links about the GMG Academy. And last but not least, not very far, we have the Color Management Symposium from FOCRA on the 28th and the 2nd March. Also there we have the link on the materials here in the Go to Training window, and the topic this year is multicolor and extended color gamut. So that's very fancy today. So we from GMG have also 2 speaker slots there, and maybe we see one or the other from you there. All right, as said, we're already over time now, so we received a lot of questions, and so as said, we will follow up later then and answer your questions per mail, because some of them are more complex and not so easy now in that situation here to explain. But in my case, thank you very much for your attention and that you joined the webinar today. Hopefully you could take a lot for your daily practice, and maybe we will see you soon. See you soon again in the future, and have a nice evening, or which time it is at your side. Yeah, I would say bye-bye, see you next time.